Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna Bond is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome back. Welcome to stormy Costa Rica today. Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to experience our divine nature. I'm your host, Donna Bond, transformational wisdom teacher, soul catalyst, and spiritual psychology life coach. Today, you're listening to episode 36. The other side feels like the inside of a wave, with Drew Brophy. Today's guest is rare and extraordinary on every level. He's one of the most recognized surf artists in the world and has spent his entire life painting the energy of the ocean, studying sacred geometry, and chasing something in those surf waves that he became even more intimate with during multiple near-death experiences that he went through. In 2021, he contracted COVID-19 and spent 28 days in a coma and 70 days on a ventilator. He kissed death multiple times, and on the other side, he discovered the bliss, the light, and the complete unity with all that is. And he realized that his experience might have been what he had been chasing his entire life in the tube of a surf wave. Artist Drew Brophy is here with us today, and he's returned from the other side with something to share with us all. So I hope that you'll settle in, get a comfortable seat. We're going to invite you to meet Drew and learn about his incredible experience, and more importantly, his uplifting and important message to humanity. So welcome in, get settled. Hello, everybody in the chat. Jennifer McCormick, welcome back in. Labyrinth, Criterion. I said it. I did it. It's getting there. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome back. It's so great to have you all. Unless Maria Brophy, hello, welcome. Unless you're driving a car or operating heavy machinery, I want to invite you to close your eyes. Let's just do a little centering. Let's just gather our energy. Let's just feel the beating of our hearts, sending a blessing of gratitude to our bodies, to all that they do on our behalf without being asked or scheduled, without being told what to do. Just following your breath, calling in and calling back your life force from all of the places that it's been out working on your behalf. Just giving yourself this moment to close your eyes and to tune in to your essence, to the higher part of you, to that wisdom-filled knowingness, tuning in to the energy that is beating your heart. Infinite universe, once again, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, imbalance, any distress, discomfort, dis-ease, constriction, contraction, any irritation, aggravation, annoyance, any old storylines, false notions, limiting beliefs, old ideas, any energy or vibrational frequency that is vibrating at anything less than the frequency of divine loving that may be residing anywhere in our consciousness. We ask that anything with a resonant frequency less than divine love be lifted and transmuted at this time, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness, into this space. We ask to be flooded with grace, light, peace, upliftment, connection, hope, strength, sovereignty, clarity of mind, and strength of heart. We acknowledge and we welcome only those divine beings of light who love each one of us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan and who work for the light. We welcome only you into our sacred space here today. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart that will resonate most profoundly with each individual here for their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. We are grateful. And we say thank you. So be it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for bringing your attention back to the room. Hi, Rose. Welcome. Kelly, Jennifer. Well, we have a very exciting guest here today. Drew Brophy is with us. We are going to welcome him in just a moment. But first, we're going to do one of our most sacred practices, our sacred circle of light, because every episode we send our intentions of upliftment and loving around the world to people who need it most. So if somebody in your life could benefit from healing grace and divine light, you're invited to share their name with us today. You can just drop it in the chat, or if you would like anybody to be held in our sacred container, you can visit spiritualambition.sacredlight.com, and you can just submit their name to us and we will hold them in our sacred container. So today we are sending light out and to Don and Celia, to Rose, Paul, Felicia, and Celia. We're sending the light to Tracy and Nadia, to Luca and Cassie. We're sending the light to Mary and Ron, to Beth, Greg, Gregory, Aurora, to Stephanie, and to Jody. And we just take a moment and we direct our intentions for upliftment, for healing, for loving, for remembering. Thank you, everyone. Terry, welcome. Taryn, welcome. Welcome in. Jennifer Rose, lovely to have you with us. All right. Well, I am not going to delay any longer. You know, Drew Brophy is a world-renowned surf artist. He's a sacred geometry painter and a lifelong student of ancient wisdom. He has over 30 years as a professional artist. He pioneered the use of Posca paint pens on surfboards in the 1990s, which was a technique that changed the way surfboards were painted forever. His bold, vibrant, energy-charged art has since been expanded into fine art, murals, sacred geometry, and corporate commissions that are collected and licensed worldwide. Drew is a lifelong surfer, a world traveler, a student of physics, solar dynamics, and ancient cultures. Drew creates what he calls quantum art, work that is designed to show that everything is energy and that we are all connected. In 2021, Drew contracted COVID-19 and he spent 28 days in a coma and 70 days on a ventilator. Surviving against all odds and experiencing the other side in ways that profoundly transformed his art and his understanding of life, death, and our sacred existence. His miraculous story is told in his wife Maria Brophy's memoir, COVID, A Love Story. And if you didn't catch it, you can go back and listen to episode 27, where I got to talk directly with Maria to hear about her heroic advocacy and the role that she played in, I'm going to say, orchestrating a vision of life that was the sacred container that she held on this side to be able to support Drew and bring him back. So without further ado, this couple is so amazing. And I just get so obviously moved by who they are and what they've done and what they're here to share with humanity. And this is such an important message. So I hope whatever you're doing, wherever you are right now, you can just take a moment and be with us and be with Drew as we welcome him to Spiritual Ambition.
Howdy, everybody.
Drew Brophy, you look amazing. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I'm surfing a lot, and doing my art, and I'm back into life. So I feel absolutely perfect, blessed, grateful, all of the above.
You look so solid, and you look so strong, and you look so vibrant.
Yeah, I'm strong. When I first started talking about this, I was so frail I could barely talk, and it just feels really good to be on the other side of it and in a position to talk about it freely.
Well, thank you so much for talking about it. And thank you so much for the great service that you are contributing to the world in helping humanity touch into their divine essence and the sacredness of all of life. Because I don't think that there is anything more important at this time on the planet for humanity.
I agree.
So I want to start with going back, before this epic event, which of course we're going to talk about, but I want to go back to sacred geometry. And I'd like to ask you to share with us a little bit about when did that become of interest to you? How did that become of interest to you? And do you think that that was preparation in some weird way for the journey that you went on to make?
Yes, absolutely. Well, as an artist, you tend to see the world through a lens of, curiosity, and I just noticed patterns mainly in nature. So the curves of a wave and the eddies in the water, the eddies in the clouds, the way things were designed. And it's just so amazing, as you look at things and something as simple as a flower or an insect, and you're just fascinated by this divine design. And as I started as a surfer, you start getting really into weather. You become an amateur meteorologist trying to figure out when the waves are going to be good. And you see those same patterns in, hurricanes and big winter storms, these big coma shapes or Fibonacci shapes. And I really started getting into weather, and the weather then got me into solar physics and planetary physics, and looking into that. And the physics part of it really got me into the mathematics. And the mathematics was so difficult for me that I looked at the geometry as a better way to articulate that information, and just was curious and started looking up some of the patterning and formulas and things that, describe how matter is manifesting into this world. And so the only way I knew how to understand it was to draw it and paint it. And it was mesmerizing. It just screamed, divine design. And it's very meditative to paint. And it's almost like the whole practice is like a meditation, similar to like priests doing a mandala. And it taps into something. And then you start to see it in all good art. So the composition of art and buildings and even the human figure, you just start to see these beautiful patterns, and it's unmistakable, and it's not an accident. And so the more I explored into it, the deeper I got, and started noticing these patterns in ancient structures and symbolism throughout the world. And, you see all these things your whole life, but until maybe you drew them or something, you didn't understand what they were, where their root was. And people have known about this for a very long time.
It's pretty miraculous that all over the globe, we have ancient Egypt and the Mayans, we have the Celts, India. They were all looking at these same similar patterns, even though they didn't have the internet back then. They weren't able to communicate that, hey, I saw this or I saw that. So it's pretty incredible that they were all tapping in to some same similar source.
Yeah, almost like a language. So it seems like it's a way to articulate the world, like in geometry, specifically sacred geometry. That it's just a way to articulate something that is almost unarticulable, which is something that we're going to talk about today with the near death, which is almost there's no words. So you really struggle to expand upon it because it was more like a feeling, the way it makes you feel. And so the sacred geometry does the same thing. It makes you feel a certain way. There's a reason why you find somebody attractive. It makes you feel a certain way. It's not just visual. There's a reason you like a painting, and it's because of the composition of it. A painting can be painted poorly, but the composition is there and you still like it. A painting could be technically painted like very well with somebody that's mastered their craft, but the composition's off and somebody doesn't like it. They don't know why they don't like it. But if you understand these geometries, you realize they don't like it because it doesn't contain the patterns and the ratios that we find beautiful. And so it really is beauty.
I love what you're sharing. And I have a theory, and maybe this is a show for another day, but I have a theory that our geometry, right? The geometry of you and the geometry of me and the geometry of everyone on the planet, we're looking to complete ourselves by tuning in and matching up to other people's geometry that gives us a sense of that completeness or that wholeness when we come together.
Mhm.
So I don't know what you think about that when I say that, but it
Well,
feels very active in my consciousness.
yeah, and then there again, it's a feeling. So something feels good, someone feels good. It's like this intuition that you have that you might have suppressed or haven't been paying attention to for whatever reason. But if you really start to put your awareness into that and really try to take in a little bit more, and pay attention to the way you feel, uh, I think you'll have much better results in your life.
Hmm. So I wanted to share a personal story about your art. The Flower of Life became a sort of breadcrumb trail for me in my own life. And it was sort of a very specific unfolding of how this symbol would show itself in my life. And it would signify that I was on the right track, or it felt like the universe was winking at me at different periods. And it was stopping me in my tracks when I saw your painting called Transcendence.
Yeah.
And I was with Maria. We were in your gallery. And this painting has been with me for the past, I don't know, 8 years maybe. And I'm curious to know, like, have you been following sacred geometry your whole life? Or was this something that has sort of come into your awareness in the last decade? And how has it influenced uh, how you managed what was going on the other side?
Yeah. So I was always aware of it, mainly through symbolism that you see in, a lot of religious symbols. And it wasn't complete. There was parts of it, things like the Vesica Pisces and things like this, which are all fragments of the flower of life. Uh, and I really started getting into it when I discovered that I could use it as an articulation of matter, is what I was really studying. I was studying with Nassim Harriman about his unified field theory, and it was very difficult to comprehend. And so I was using it to kind of articulate this field of energy. And the flower of life starts with one circle, and then you start patterning out, and it's a really fun exercise to do. Very hard to get it just right. You can mess it up really easy. And like I said, it's very meditative, but it's articulating a three-dimensional space, not just two. And so you have to imagine what this would look like as a layered space, and then three-dimensional designs being able to be made out of it. And so when you start connecting the dots, there's the platonic solids in there, and things like Metatron's cube, and these are drawn as 2D objects, but in a 3D, you can do it in a 3D space. You can draw as a 3D object in there, which really starts to get your mind in the right place to start thinking about how this system could work, which was the unified field. And a lot of people think of space being like out there somewhere, but what you don't realize is it's infinitely big and it's infinitely small. So it's inward and outward. And so, what we see is kind of an illusion of we're trapped in this matrix of space that's it's fractalized. So there's really no big and small. It's just like it's endless. And so learning that was, just really difficult to wrap my brain around. But I was enjoying learning it, and the art really helped me. And so at some point I'd taken a class with a guy, Randall Carlson, sacred geometry class, to make sure I could do it well. And they use it in architecture and things like that. So, yeah.
Kelly, I would love to bring up Drew's painting called Transcend Dance. And, this literally, it stopped me in my tracks. And this I have held as my secret, or my symbol of success, is what I want to call it, my symbol of success. Because the flower of life to me represents unlimited possibility. It represents, like you're saying, these fractals and this multidimensional experience. But this for me represents unlimited potentiality and expansion. And beyond all that, it's exquisitely beautiful. So thank you for creating it.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's nice to see it again.
It's
really
pretty
nice.
Fantastic. And Kelly, if you could show the picture of this actually in my office. The name of this art is Transcend Dance with a capital D. And I would spin my camera around, but that would make everything a little crazy on the set here. So
you can really see how you feel like you're looking into it in that 3D space, like you could infinitely go in. And if you could paint it big enough, you could draw bigger circles and smaller circles, and it would infinitely scale. And it just scales infinitely small, infinitely large. And within that space, there's all these possibilities of geometries. And if you use your eyes, you can kind of start to see the squares and triangles and octahedrons and things like that in there. And then, of course, Metatron's cube, which gets fairly complicated, but a very beautiful geometry.
Yes. Well, I have a copy of this on my altar behind me, which I clipped out of a magazine, like off the back of some advertisement.
Yeah.
And I have another little tiny one that was, I think, a business card at one point that I have on the altar in my bedroom.
Perfect.
So it's been a dear sacred object.
Yes.
Drew, you were very sick.
Mm-hmm.
And you were very sick for a long time. You were put into a coma for 28 days, and then you remained on a ventilator for 70 days. You were isolated from your family. You were removed from your day-to-day life, and you were dramatically facing the unknown. Tell us about your experience. What was it like? How much awareness did you have of what was going on? And were you scared to death?
Yeah. Wow. It's not easy to talk about, but in the moments before this happened, I was told I was getting better, and that I was about to go home. It was the day before Thanksgiving, and I had been sick, and I was in the hospital, and I had never really been sick before, so I didn't know what to expect. And but this day I felt better. I was in the COVID unit, and I was happy it was over. I'd won. And I was texting people for the first time. I was able to sit up. Before that, I'd had to lay down. I wasn't feeling well. And so I was excited that, okay, it was over. I might be going home in a few days. And I was taking big, deep breaths. I was very grateful that it was over. And I got a good glimpse of what was happening to people. People had passed while I'd been in the hospital. It was a very scary situation, but I never ever thought that I was going to die. And here I was, getting better, and I was just grateful. And then a nurse, they have all glass in the ICU, and a nurse stopped and looked at me strangely, and they had to put all the garb on to come in, safety stuff, so it wasn't easy. And she came in, and instantly there was panic. I was rushed out of there and given a CAT scan. And what I didn't know is, since I'd felt better, I started breathing strong. I was a big wave surfer, so I was taking these big, deep breaths. And when I did that, my lungs tore. And I didn't feel it. But after the CAT scan, the doctor came in and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Brophy, you have holes in your lungs. They are collapsing. And if we don't put you in a coma right away, you're going to die. You're going to die real soon. You're going to have a heart attack or a stroke." And you're never prepared for this. I mean, the doctor saying these things. And my thought was, no, I'm not. I'm not going to die. And he says, "Mr. Brophy, your lungs are sticking together. The COVID pneumonia has them like wet paper. We can't get them separated, or they'll tear more. Your only chance is to go into a coma so that you don't suffer." So basically, he was telling me that instead of dying by a heart attack or a stroke, that it was just better if they put me to sleep. I said, no. I said I would rather fight. He was very disappointed, and he said, "Okay, well, I'm going to move you to a room with a window so that you can say goodbye to your family." And that process started right away. Maria was called, and for the first time, I got to see her and my older sister, Andrea, through the window. And I was afraid, of all the information that was given to me, but I still didn't think I was going to die. They expected me to die that night. I did not. I held on all night long as my lungs began to collapse. And it felt like I was drowning, which you are. You're drowning. You can't get air, and your lungs are full with fluid. And I feel that the big wave surfing and the years spent underwater, it kind of prepared me a little bit for it. And I lasted all night. And I texted my wife in the morning and told her I was alive. But I realized I couldn't do this forever, and that I was going to have to take the coma. I asked the doctor, I said, "Well, what are my chances in the coma?" And he said, "Not very good." He says that there's always a chance, but not a very good one. He said, "You need to prepare for this being it." And you're never prepared for that either. You're like, wow, my whole life, it's about to end. There wasn't much time. I got to see Maria and my sister in the window to say goodbye. I got to make one phone call to my mother and son. It was Thanksgiving Day. They were all together, my whole family. I had about 20 seconds to say goodbye to them. And it was like I was an astronaut on a rocket getting ready to be launched into space. I still didn't think I was going to die, but I knew there was a chance, and I felt if God decided to take me, there's nothing I can do about that. But if I really wanted to stay, so either the rocket was going to blow up and there was going to be nothing, or I was going to have a grand adventure. And that's how it started.
I'm realizing as you're sharing, and I'm like realizing it in this moment. My father died of lung cancer, but he died because of the fluid in in his lungs. I was 22 years old. He was just 44. And yeah.
I
So
think a good message out of that is, people need to be preparing themselves for the biggest fight of their life, or the thing that we're all going to face. It's all going to be something different. And the way you feel and the way you decide mentally on how to deal with this thing that's happening. And I don't know why I reacted the way I did, but I was ready to stand up to it. I could have just as easily folded like a stack of cards, but I didn't. My wife didn't. And so I advise everybody to start living a life of purpose and creating a life worth living. So when you find yourself in this moment, that you have something to live for, people to fight for, a reason to be here. Because it's real easy to let go. It's much easier to let go than it was to fight.
yeah, for sure. What was your reason, Drew? What was your reason to keep fighting?
Maria and I built a life worth living for. Our lives were amazing. My son, my friends. I love life. I love people. I love the adventure. I love surfing. Find things that you love. There's so much.
There's
And
so
until
much.
until this event happened, I never really realized how much we've been given. We've been given everything. It wasn't until it was all taken from me did I realize this. I was always grateful, but I had no idea until I was stripped of everything. And I had to earn each one back. And each little thing you earn back is like such a gift. And then you start to realize everything you've been given. And it's extraordinary.
Say more about what you had to earn back.
Well, after the coma, when I woke up, I was totally paralyzed, locked in my body. I lost over 100 pounds. I was essentially sent back to a dead body. I was still on the ventilator. The reason they put you in a coma for the ventilator is because it's awful. It doesn't feel like you're breathing. It feels like you're drowning. And your heart races. Feels like you're in the fight of your life every second. That's why they drug you to oblivion, because it's so awful. That's why people give up. But the paralysis was, my mind was clear. It was the near death that gave me the clarity and the power to stay alive. I felt like a spark inside my body, like an energy or a sound. I could hear them talking like, oh, well, he's still going to die, even though he woke up. And I just thought to myself, they don't get it. I can keep this body alive forever, and they can't kick me out of it. That was my mindset, even though I was in this destroyed body. It was an amazing feeling.
So you come out of the coma and you remain intubated for 70 days.
Yeah.
And it was during those 70 days that you kissed death, potentially more than once.
It was in a coma. It was before. I don't know when in a coma. But the near death was like Felt extraordinary, like I was just released, like almost like I cracked open and I was released, and I was so grateful to be out of the body. It was like taking a breath for the first time that just kept going, like the biggest breath you ever took, like an expansion. You instantly kind of let go of this world and everything. It's more of a feeling than it is something that you see. And it felt like a remembering, like I felt like I was everything and everyone. And it was just coming so fast that it instantly became bewildering. And there again, it's more like a feeling. It felt, I describe it the same way, always like billions of children tickling me, like little lights coming to me, each one being like a memory or a person or something. And it just kept coming and coming and coming. You're very quickly overwhelmed. At some point, this bigger light that came to me, the whole thing was flowing like a river of light. And you just go with it. You're like, this is great. And this bigger light came to me, and the only way I can describe it is it felt like my father. And it was as if the feeling was as if I was a child being picked up by my father. And that was the moment that I surrendered. Before that, I was just in awe of it all. Just I couldn't believe I'd forgotten all of this.
Couldn't
And
believe I had forgotten all of this. What a profound thing to say, Drew. I couldn't
yeah,
believe I had forgotten all of this.
yeah, that this is what you really are, or where you come
What I
from.
really am.
Yeah, who you really are. And it's like we got it backwards. We're not from here going there. We're from there coming here. And we're
Yes.
having an experience here.
Yes.
And when I surrendered to this light that felt like my father, I just was stuck in the flow, and just more and more remembering was happening. It's like you're remembering everything ever. It's just all there. It's like, and there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to worry about. And it felt like a very long time. And I started to forget about this place. I wasn't even thinking about this place. And at some point, even a bigger light came that was more powerful. And it was just moving faster, and it hit us with like a lot of force. It felt different. Now I think was maybe the energy that was given to me to survive. And all of the energy was almost like all the people praying for me or something, supporting me. And then this bigger light came back and just said, no, I got to stop this. And it busted me out of the light. And we went to like a void, like a black void place. And then that's when it was said, I need to go back. And I'd forgotten about this place completely at that point. I was like, go back where? What are you talking about? There's some other place than here? And they said, Maria and Dylan are waiting for you. And I instantly remembered and felt terrible that I'd forgotten. And I was like, of course I'll go back. I'll go back. And it was like I was signing up for a military mission, or like re-enlisting, or I don't know. It was just like, it was not an easy choice or an easy thing to come back. It was like you got to go back. There's no time to start over. You got to go back to that body, and it's broken, and it's going to be terrible. We're sorry we had to do it this way, but you got to go back. And I was like, oh,
Drew,
okay.
as you've had time to reflect on this and make sense out of it, do you have a sense of who that voice was? Was that your guides? Was that your higher self? Was that the divine creator?
It's all of it. It's all you. It's all like it. There's so many paradoxes. That's why it's so hard to talk about. It's like you're everything and nothing. I mean, these weird concepts. I don't, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to understand it, but it's the smarter or the most all-knowing part of you, and it's desperately trying to help you all the time, leaving you breadcrumbs. And it's the connection to it. I think most of us are disconnected from this source. And
Yes.
then, and in this body, you tend to feel separate and alone. And I just got to tell people you're not alone. It's impossible to be alone. And look for the breadcrumbs that the greater part of you is constantly trying to help you. It's just you're not paying attention. You're not aware. And it happens through people and your environment. And once you train yourself to be more present and aware, you'll see the breadcrumbs. And it's just so beautiful that like in my experience getting better, I had so many angels show up. They kept showing up. I almost died so many times. I'd be like almost dead and somebody would show up and do something. Angels. And it happened over and over and over again. And at some point I felt invincible. I was like, okay, well, I know the machine says I'm about to die, but somebody will come and do something. And they always did. And most of all, it was my wife. My wife fighting for me, every second of the day. And, the hospital is a scary place. I mean, they're human. They can make mistakes. And it's a system, and the system, is overloaded. And so things can go wrong. And when you're that precarious of life and death, one small mistake means death. So just having all these people fighting for me, it was almost like every good deed I'd ever done in my life was coming back to me. And that's the reason why it pays to be a good person, and it pays to, have good thoughts and try to help people in the world. Because there was plenty of people in that hospital that were dying alone with nobody helping them.
Yeah.
How did they live their life?
You said we have to train ourselves to be more present and aware. And right now you're saying it pays to have good thoughts.
Yes.
Share with me a little bit about the journey beyond the physical journey that you have made back to this beautiful, healthy, big wave surfer that we know you to be. Tell me about the mind training and how you have held yourself accountable to be more present and more aware. And what can you share with us that we can all use and take away in our own lives to begin practicing this today so that we don't have to have our own near-death experience to wake up?
Yeah, it's all mind. It's all mind. You have to trust yourself, the deep part of yourself, that intuition, and control your thoughts. Don't let fear in. Don't let the suggestibility or the things that corrupt you in. Surround yourself with the right kinds of people. it's difficult. It's so difficult because you're in this machine, this body. I feel like I'm in an animal now. I feel like I was put back into like this thing, which is very difficult in itself.
It's a
But
tight space.
you're taming this machine. The machine wants to do things, The body has desires, and that could be food or drugs or sex or prestige. It could be anything, and it wants that. It wants to be safe and that type of thing. But there's nothing to be afraid of. You have to realize that you are a creation machine. Where your mind goes, your body will follow. So if you have certain thoughts, it's going to create that and put you in that space. And so it's really important that you control your mind so that you can create the outcome or the world that you want to see. And it's not an instant reaction, it's a delayed reaction. And you don't know how it's going to show up for you, but it shows up usually in people. And you have a thought like, oh, well, in my case, when I needed help, the right people were showing up in my life when I needed help at the right time, because I put the intention out there. I asked for it. I kept the negative thoughts away, um, and really tried to focus on, okay, I need to outlast this thing that's happening to me. It's not going to last forever. I'm going to be strong again. I'm going to try my hardest every time, even though I don't feel like it. And I'm going to be grateful. So now in my life, every time somebody walks into my gallery, I'm like, oh, why are they here? Are they here because I need to give them something? Or are they here to give something to me? And that could be just being kind. You never know when somebody's having the worst day of their life. People are good, they hide things. And, telling them that it's going to be okay. Sometimes just they're like, oh, wow, you have no idea I'm having the worst day of my life. Pays to be nice to people. No matter what, patient, be patient. But it's a practice. I'm trying my best. I'm not perfect at it either. But I'm definitely noticing the little breadcrumbs of people and events, synchronicities that are happening in my life. I mean, my case was so extraordinary. I would not be here without the numerous angels. I mean, so many people it took to save my life. Still to this day.
Yes.
And
With
they're still
Maria at the
showing up.
helm.
Maria at the helm. But still to this day, I just met some folks that are going to help me with peptides to get the final nerve problems down, figured out. And it's just been miraculous. So I just show up every day and try to be the best person I can be. And that's good enough.
Maxine is asking, did your near-death experience open up your psychic abilities?
That's an interesting one. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually been a hard one to deal with. There again, it's trusting yourself and this extra sense that you might have. I haven't really acted on them, but yes, I've had some very bizarre things happen, and I'm learning how to live with them. I am, and I'm not sure what to do with it. I don't know if I should
Like
keep
you're
it to
receiving
myself.
information, Drew.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I don't, it's kind of like you don't know what to do with it especially as it's happening with the person. And, I don't want to come off as this just doing this interview is hard enough. But yeah, good question. That's the first time I've been asked that, but the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, I know and I certainly did not experience, but as my gifts came online, I would find myself sort of asking my guides or asking my higher self, like, is this mine to share? And even asking the person that you're with something to the effect of, I'm receiving some information that may or may not be useful to you. Do you want to hear it? And then you let the other person decide if they are open to it or not.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try that. It's just interesting. I think anyone out there who really tries to practice controlling their mind, meditating, slowing things down, releasing anxiety and fear, trusting themselves, and sit on that edge of awareness and presence, they can really start to see the matrix of how things are happening and how desperately people are trying to put out information and control you or to distract you from it. And we live in a world of distractions, and don't give them your energy. And I just really, out of all of this, I just want people to know that they have a lot more power than they ever dreamed of. The power
Yeah.
of the human mind and body is absolutely extraordinary. And my story tells it. I mean, the things I had to do to heal were impossible. They said I was going to be dead. They wanted to turn the machines off on December 9th. I would have been dead, 50 years old, in the coma. Then when I woke up, they wanted to do a lung transplant because they said my lungs were toast. They said I'd never come off the ventilator. They said I'd live in a nursing home for the rest of my life. They said I'd never get off oxygen. As I beat things, this is what was happening. They said, "Oh yeah, well you're going to get to go home, but you probably won't last a year." And the body wants to be whole. It wants to heal. And your mind is the difference. If you have a strong mind, the body will heal. It takes time. It took 2 solid years to get strong and 2 more years to get back to basically normal. It's a long time of fighting, and you have to
It's a long
take
time.
action. Yeah, you can't just sit and wait for it to happen. There again, you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to wake up every day grateful. When I was talking about the things that were taken from me, I didn't have a sip of water for like 4 months. Simply water, everything was put into my stomach. That first sip of water was like heaven. You have no idea everything you've been given. My fingers, as I first started to move, my right hand, I could move some fingers, and I was desperately trying to write. And my wife would hold up a piece of paper, and I couldn't hold my head up or sit up. I could just move my fingers, and they were trying to get me to write. And some of the first things I wrote was, "I'm here." I wanted them to know that I was there. And I wrote, "I was the light." That's who you are. You are the light. And it's never going to stop. It's never going to give up. That's who you are. Extremely powerful. You just forgot.
Why do we forget? Why do we forget so deeply? And why do we stubborn, thick-headed humans need such dramatic experiences to help us remember?
I think life is basically this one long remembering of who you really are. That you're having this experience. Um, Of course, all the good things are great experiences, but the suffering has value as well. My
Mm.
experience, as bad as it was, I mean, it was brutal. It was awful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it gives you the perspective that you've been given everything. This beautiful body, the other people, the beautiful people, our ability to create. I mean, we create the most amazing things. Um, music, art, buildings, machinery. I mean, I think the most beautiful things are people. And the human body is like a beautiful machine when you take care of it. And, we were given one. And it can do extraordinary things if you put it to work. You can become a fantastic musician, artist, thinker, athlete. I mean, look at a dancer. I mean, just think about all these things that we are able to create. We're like creation
Yes.
machines.
Maybe that should be the name of your book, Creation Machine.
Maybe. I'm trying to put together a talk on these subjects of just waking people up to the fact that they're extraordinary, and you were born with everything that you need. It's all
Yes.
within you. It is every single bit of it's within you. It's not out there. It's in you.
We have some really crazy weather going on in Costa Rica right now, so I apologize if we have some intermittent dabbling with Starlink right now.
Yeah, it's okay.
Drew Brophy is here with us today, sharing his remarkable story of his miraculous journey of getting COVID-19,
Yeah, I would like to.
being put in a coma. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to give you an analogy of, when surfing is a great way to do this analogy that, we're essentially light or energy, and it doesn't ever stop. And when you think of waves, waves are created by the solar wind, and the solar wind of the sun shoots across space and hits our atmosphere, creating pressure gradients on the atmosphere, which ultimately creates wind. And that wind blows along the ocean and creates waves. The energy is put into the water by the wind. And then it organizes itself into these beautiful waves that humans can miraculously dance on. We can use this body to catch them, ride them, this fluid energy that's trapped inside the water. And when you ride the tube inside, it is this extraordinary thing happens as the wave bends around you. You feel this like time dilation of it slows down. You just like get pulled back for a second. It slows down. And in that moment, you can see every drop of water falling from the wave. And then in one swift motion, it's all over. The wave hits the beach, but the wave didn't die. Just like the human body, the energy was released from the water.
Yes.
And that's what we are. There's energy in our bodies. You don't die. You're just released. And it's like waking from a dream into this other space. And it never stops. It's never going to stop.
It's never going to stop. That's a whole other conversation, right? We
Yeah.
think about many lifetimes and coming back again and again. The ring of no return, we call it in the Gene Key world.
Yeah.
Drew, you have uh, been surfing your whole life that you just gave us, being uh, similar to what you were able to take back from your experience on the other side. So thank you for giving us such a descriptive articulation.
You're welcome.
Because I was with you on the wave as you were sharing it. We're coming to the end of our time together. And I just want to ask you, now that you have all of this wisdom that has come online as you, expressing as you, as Drew Brophy, how does this influence your imprint in the world for the rest of the time that you are here on the planet in this body?
Yeah, well, of course, I'll put it in my art. My hope is to create paintings that can, have these messages in it, create thought, and also speak about it, be a voice, and just let people know that to look for the signs, because it's happening to everyone, not just to me, not just to you. Everybody has access to it. And as more and more people
Yes.
have these profound experiences, it's going into the collective and it's causing people to become aware and wake up. And it's coming. There's no stopping it. And it's beautiful. And, I just really hope that people can turn away from all the nonsense in the world and look inward and find all the beauty that they have forgotten. They've been given everything. And you don't need the other stuff. You don't need, what the ego or what people are selling or something. It's more, look within and what makes you feel good. There again, it's a feeling. I'm still processing how to really talk about it. But go with the way you feel. If something feels bad, don't do it. If a person feels bad, give them time to simmer. But yeah, so moving forward, I just want to be the best person I can be, and be there for my family, help as many people as I can along the way, be patient with them as they wake up. And even if they don't wake up, be patient with them because it's you. They're having an experience for you. Everybody's
Yes.
having an experience for the
Beautiful.
whole.
I loved what you said about when people walk into your gallery, you think, am I supposed to give them something or are they supposed to give me something? That's a
And it's both.
Drew Brophy. Thank you so much for sharing, for being here today, all of us. Thank you for coming back. And thank you to Maria for her record of this remarkable unfolding. For everybody who's tuning in and everybody who wants to read the page turner, you can get COVID.
Yeah.
On Amazon. Maria has just narrated the entire book. All right, hang in there with me, everyone. Beautiful.
The storms are raging in Costa Rica.
Thank you all for your patience. We're having some crazy weather here. Thank you, Maria. All right, well, we're going to do a proper close the way that we always close Spiritual Ambition. Really, my heart is just so full, and I'm so grateful to be able to share this time with you, Drew. And again, I just am so in awe of both you and Maria and your mission together on the planet to raise consciousness, to uplift humanity, and to be the illustration and demonstration of what is possible for all of the spiritual beings having human experiences here on planet Earth at this time. So we just close our eyes for a moment. We ask that the light be sent up ahead for everybody on their journey, for wherever people are on their paths. It's my heartfelt intention to collaborate with incredible hearts and minds like Drew and Maria to continue uplifting and awakening consciousness everywhere on the planet, for us to remember that I am you and you are me. And this is one big hologram that we are all in together. Extend your kindness and your heart, extend your gratitude and your peace, your graciousness and your love. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are grateful and we say thank you. We are closing this show with love, in love, for love, by love, as love. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Blessings to all.
Life is good. Thank you.